Hello and welcome into the ninth edition of the Starters Podcast. I'm Dave Trinadue, and with me tonight, of course, as usual, we have Simon Saligas and Joey Alfieri. How's it going, boys?
Ninth edition, That's a big number, man.
Should be 10. A bit of an ice storm. Ice storm got the better of us last week.
No kidding.
It was funny. What was that? I guess it was Wednesday during the day. We're sending each other some question suggestions, and Dave's yeah, I don't have power. And Simon and I were yeah, we have power. And then 2 hours later, I lost power and I didn't get it back for 3 days.
Ridiculous. Yeah, brutal for all around, probably. I mean, I don't know many people who had power actually. So
my in-laws did. We went to my in-laws for a couple of days last week. So thankfully, we could get a hot shower there, and nice. We had a warm meal. So it was nice to hang out with them.
The Olympic Stadium.
What?
Sorry, did the Olympic Stadium lose power?
I was off last week, but right. I did go in on Thursday because it was Mario Cecchini's last day, and I wanted to get in a proper goodbye. And they had power. I brought everything I owned that could be charged, and I charged it all at Olympic Stadium.
Nice,
yeah, nice. That's well done. I went to the mall on Thursday because we had no power. I would say for 48 hours from Wednesday 6 o'clock till Friday 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
we went to the mall on Thursday, people sitting on the floor charging their things.
Yeah.
Just the evolution of man, how quickly. The next day, people with yoga mats instead of sitting on the floor, power bars. So they were just loading up their stuff. But my favorite thing was Friday night with the family. We went to Lume here in Laval.
Oh, yeah.
Lit up like a Christmas tree. Nobody there wanted to leave. People were around the hot chocolate station and stuff like that. Nobody in Laval has power, but Illume just going strong on the 15 there.
I'm going to be honest with you, Salika. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save that just in case Illumi wants to sponsor. I have no problem with Illumi. I was going to say you don't strike me as an Illumi kind of guy.
It was awesome. It was nice. Yeah, because it's peaceful. We had the phones out, but just to take pictures. It was just cool. Nice little walk. It's something we don't do enough of. Dave used to play hockey. Joey used to run around. We always play these sports. It was just nice to take a 45-minute pleasant walk. A little bit cool there. The Friday night got a little bit cold. Luckily, the power had come on a little bit before we left the house, so I got to crank up the heat. But it was really, really nice. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, my in-laws are in Laval, so we drive by Illumi on the way home every time we leave there. And I've never been, and I always say we have to try it. So, free shout-out.
Yeah. All right. Contact us. Send us an email at thestarters690.
My DMs are open.
Reminder to our listeners, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, thestarters690. All right. Let's dive right in, guys. Question number 1 brought to you by Cafe Milano. 3 locations, St. Leo, Laval, and a new one in the West Island right off of Sources on Brunswick. And Simon, after our first get-together was so successful at Elixir Laval, we're having another one. Right? This time at Milano's West Island, right?
This one is going to be a lot more serious.
Yelling.
Less laughing, less joking, a lot of war room stuff. It's something that I've always loved and I've never done. I've been to an NFL game, been to an NBA game, but I've never been to one of those draft parties. So I believe, I don't have the schedule in front of me, it's draft night, which is a Thursday night. I believe it's April 26th, so in a couple of weeks from now, 8 p.m., I'd like to see NFL fans out there. It would have been cool to see the Bears picking at number 1, but obviously they're not picking there anymore. But it should be quite an interesting draft, maybe 4 quarterbacks going in a row right off the top. So we will be there. The draft starts at 8 o'clock. We'll be there for probably 7:30, 7:45. Reserve the little back area there at Cafe Milano's in the West Island, about 30, 40 seats. I think we'll be at least 30, 40 people there. I know that Brian Wild, who's a regular contributor on TSN 690, he's confirmed his presence.
Nice.
So has Dwight Walton. So has Bears Nation, Ravens Nation, and former Raiders Nation, Joey Alfieri. Look, man, I don't think it's going to get ruckus or anything, but when they show those shots of those, I think the NHL is starting to do it a little bit more with the shot of back home at our NHL draft party and stuff like that. So. Looking forward to interacting. We always get to interact with the Habs Nation very often, but now just to twist it up a little bit, get to see some of our football listeners. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's all right. April 27th.
Thursday, April 27th.
Yes.
8 p.m.
Let's go.
In the West Island. We'll have all the details on our social media pages. All right. So question number one, guys.
Women are invited. Just like it's open to women too, because there was a bit of confusion at the last one. So just want to make sure everybody who's watching knows that.
There was no confusion. Women chose.
There was confusion, not on our part, on other people's part, but not us.
Women who had access to cars and driver's license but chose not to come. Yes.
Men, women, and children are all welcome.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Question number one, guys. The NBA play-in tournament underway, and it's definitely exciting. So my simple question is, I want to know if you guys think the NHL should adapt a play-in tournament. Joey, you go first.
All right. So just to be clear, play-in tournament is 7 plays 8. The winner goes to the playoffs. The loser plays the winner of 9v10. So if you finish 8th and you lose to the 7, you really have to lose back-to-back games to be eliminated from playoff contention. I like it. Okay, I enjoy it. I stayed up. It's funny, Simon. I saw you on Twitter this morning, and I'm assuming you didn't stay up for the second half of the Laker game. I did the exact same thing. I went to bed, and I was thinking to myself, like I was lying in bed, and I'm like, man, the Timberwolves they hit threes. They play hard on defense, and I'm like, man, I'm really curious to see tomorrow morning what happened in this game. It was a wacky ending. The Lakers end up pulling it off. Caught a bunch of this Raptors Bulls game here before, as we're recording. It's in the fourth quarter. I enjoy it. Here's the problem that I have with it. Like in the NHL, if I look at what's going on, and this is maybe just for this season, but do the Pittsburgh Penguins deserve to play in a play-in game? Absolutely not. They do not. I would like to see Buffalo. So basically in the Eastern Conference, if there was a play-in game, Pittsburgh and Buffalo would get in as of right now, and Ottawa would be close. In the West, you would be adding Calgary and Nashville. So to me, I would like to see it. I don't think the Penguins deserve it, but I'd like to see Buffalo. I know Calgary's been hard-pressed to find overtime and shootout victories. They lost like 150 games after regulation this season. It's a lot of games. So, to have that extra cushion would be cool. I think it cheapens your regular season a little bit because there are additional spots, and I already feel like a lot of teams get in. But sign me up for those one-off or two-off games where teams can punch their tickets in. So I would be for it. I don't know why Gary Bettman's so hard up against it. But at the same token, on the flip side, I will say that the Penguins don't deserve to be in a play-in game. So let's have one in the West and not in the East. But I want to see Buffalo in. Long story short, yes, I'm for it.
Half of the continent is in, and the other half is not. Look, I like it. And I think there would still be intrigue. You'd still have teams like maybe Ottawa, and I'm not sure exactly who's in the West right below Nashville, and those teams fighting for spots.
St. Louis. So they're like 8 points out. They're 8 points behind Nashville, or 9 points behind Nashville. So it's
not must-watch hockey there, but I still think you have that race. And then, like the Lakers, fell one game short of being an automatic in the 6th seed. So you still have that race. And then if you continue upwards, you see that Carolina, we're going into game number 82. Carolina, the Rangers, and the Devils still fighting for top spot in that division. Like, look, what the Bruins have done have just completely run away with it, and the Leafs have kind of taken off from the Lightning. But you're always going to have that. You can't just go. You've got 32 teams. They're not going to just play themselves out that way. And I'll just take a little bit from what we saw with the World Baseball Classic or whatever it was called. People like watching things that matter.
Yeah.
Like we would have – Dave? Gone?
Okay, Dave.
You're right, Dave.
Yeah, there you go, Dave. I see you now.
Oh, Dave's no power. I go, there goes the podcast. I think people like watching things that matter, right? Yeah. And I tuned in, and the numbers clearly indicate that sport fans watch when it matters the most. So maybe the lead up and Joey, I get what you're saying about we lose a little bit of that luster of the regular season, but I think there'll be enough races between 11 and 12 chasing 10 and 10 chasing 9 and 9 chasing 8 and so on and so forth. People like elimination games. And March Madness, my entire life, to me, it's still a tournament of 64 teams. It isn't. There's, the win and you're in. They did that. People tune in with big numbers. People want to see, the shot at the buzzer, the goal, the overtime goal, whatever. So I think it would work. I'd like to see it as well.
Perfect. Love the answers. I mean, I want to see something a little bit different, and I guess we could talk about this more in depth in the future. But I'd like to see like a play-in, but for the draft positioning, just to get like a tournament afterwards. Because I'm tired of rooting for teams to lose. Right? It sucks. It sucks watching your team and hoping they lose down the stretch so they get a better draft position. So I'd like to see the play-in kind of adapted in a way where you got to win. You got to win out that tournament if you want the number one overall pick. But anyways, that's just my.
That's intense. I like that. That's outside the box.
All right. Question number 2, brought to you by Station Pizza Model. I don't know if you guys saw their latest IG post or their TikTok. It's their Toscana pizza, which is my favorite. It's my go-to there. Arugula, prosciutto, parmesan. Just looks amazing. So check them out on Instagram at Station Pizza Model.
You want me to do one better, 32?
Ooh, how can you?
It's not a good picture, but this was Sunday. We had a family party there.
Oh,
Toscana was legit.
Nice. Was that your pick? That's good, man. Good man. Yeah. I love it. Look,
did some damage.
I can go for a pizza right now, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
You and me both.
No kidding. All right, so we spoke with the NBA a little bit. Well, let's stick on with them. Question number 2, I just want to know, what is your NBA Finals prediction?
I don't know, man. The West is like 6 deep. Like, the Memphis is better than the Lakers. They've been better all year. They're younger, they're more athletic, but it's not a lock. The Nuggets are completely unproven, and the Warriors, who you talk about how bad the Lakers season was. The Warriors just finished one more win than the Lakers. It's not like they ran away from everybody, and they're about to get Andrew Wiggins back. I honestly said this a couple of weeks ago. I think we're going to see the same NBA Finals matchup we saw last year. I think the Celtics, the one thing the Celtics do is they match up well against Giannis. They're athletic. They can throw different looks on him. You see the Sixers fall into that trap where it's Embiid versus Giannis. And if that's a trade-off, the cast of characters in Milwaukee, I think, will carry it more than the cast of characters in Philadelphia. Whereas the Celtics, I think they're a little bit deeper. Malcolm Brogdon as well as had an excellent season. They can go deep off that bench. So I'm going to say Celtics, and the Warriors are going to get Andrew Wiggins back. I love the story in Sacramento. It's a team that, when I was younger, I used to watch them play, and they were really nice to watch, and they were 16 years without a postseason. I just don't know if they're ready for prime time yet. You look at the teams in the Western Conference, if there's one team that can literally flip a switch, I think it's the Warriors. So I think we're going to see the same matchup we saw last year.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I thought I was going to surprise you with a Warriors pick, because I do have the Warriors, and I know we've talked about on the show on the weekend on 690, like we talked about how bad they've been away from, is it Chase Center? They've been terrible away from home. But, at the end of the day, I think it's Dwight Walton that told us a couple weeks ago that all you need to do is really win like one game on the road per series, and you give yourself a chance. So I think the Warriors have what it takes. Obviously, they have the championship experience. You have guys that have been there, done that. I think they're pretty deep. On the flip side, Salikas, if you're going to leave them for me, I'm surprised that you didn't go Milwaukee, but I'm going to go Milwaukee. Like, Chris Middleton's missed a lot of time this year. I think
tweak something on the way out in game.
Yeah, I know. He only played a handful of minutes the other night. Yeah, I mean, I still think that Giannis is the best player in the NBA right now. That's just me. So I'm going to go with them. I like Brook Lopez had a nice season. They have championship experience as well. Drew Holiday's a good player. If Middleton can get into game shape, can get healthy. He's only played, I think, 33 games this year. So I'm not going to stun you with Sacramento. I'm not going to stun you with Cleveland. But I'm gonna go with the Bucks, and I'm gonna go with the Warriors, and that's a finals that gets a ton of eyeballs. So that's where I'm going. Too many people. I thought that people might sleep on the Warriors. I thought there might be a bit of Tampa Bay Lightning.
They avoid Memphis in the first round. They avoid Denver in the first round. They get Sacramento again. Great season, all that. Completely untested when it comes to the postseason, and then other people are doing their dirty work, right? You got the Suns and the Clippers going out. And if Paul George comes back, either Kawhi Leonard gets bounced from the playoffs or Kevin Durant gets bounced from the playoffs. Again, somebody else is doing their business. If they upset Sacramento and the top seeds hold, then the Clippers will go after one of the top teams as well. So they just landed in a really nice, like they won't say it out loud, but when you look at the Western Conference top 3 teams, Golden State is absolutely thrilled that they're sitting in the 6th spot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the look, and credit to Sacramento for winning the division for the first time in a million years. But I don't know. Maybe it's one of those picks where everybody goes Golden State and everybody goes with the 6, and Sacramento stuns, but they don't defend particularly well. And I don't think you want to get into a shootout with the Warriors. I'm gonna put my glasses back on just because the Raptors Bulls is winding down. And I can't see. But when we started recording, the Raptors were winning, and there's 2 minutes left, and they're not anymore. So, nobody picked the Raptors or the Bulls to go to the finals, but that's okay.
All right, question 3.
Stelikis with no glasses is throwing me off. I don't know.
He looks great.
I'm not saying he doesn't look good. I'm just saying, I know you got the. You can keep them off, but you got the ring. You got your lighting's better, but you're throwing me off with the no glasses. I'm gonna throw off mine.
I'm just going on sound.
Nice. Question 3, boys, and this one is brought to you by EA Fitness, eafitness.ca, eafitness.inc on Instagram. Simon, your arms are looking bigger, or what's going on here?
How many push-ups this week, Tilikas?
Yeah.
I don't go to 50 anymore. I'm just going on the regular 40 because it's easier than 50. But yeah, I go to the what I like about my EA Fitness, it's one-on-one personal training, and the one thing I asked Elias to do is if we can just work a little bit on the whatever muscles you need to use to hit the ball further out of the driving range. So even for stuff like that, it's if you want to get as precise as that, or if you're a little younger and you're playing sports at a high level and you need a little bit more lower body strength, they can work on that. They can work on your stretching. They can work on whatever. But for right now, Dave, we're concentrating on the core, which is a disaster. We're just trying to rotate, go through the hips, Dave. Just try to drive the ball a little further.
Wow. Gotcha. eafitness.inc on Instagram. Check them out there. All right, so Montreal trade news as CF Montreal has dealt Canadian defender Kamal Miller and $1.3 million in general allocation money to Inter Miami for midfielder Bryce Duke and Ariel Lassiter. What do you guys think of the move? Joey?
So just first things first, to the casual sports fan, or even the hardcore sports fan that doesn't know the intricacies of MLS, general allocation money is used to buy down cap hits, right? So there's a salary cap in MLS, 32. If I'm paying you $1.5 million a season, but I put $500,000 on general allocation money towards your contract, that means that your cap hit's only like $1 million, right? So that's what general allocation money is, just to get out of the way. To me, when I see these deals that involve a lot of GAM, as they call it, I always feel like it's an MLS type deal, and there's a ton of things that we don't know about these trades. And so I know that most people are negative, and most people are going to be negative because it hasn't gone well for CF Montreal early on. I would just offer a word of caution. We've said these things before. Georgi Mihailovic, I remember being in studio at TSN Radio when that trade went down. Everybody was freaking out that they paid $1 million in allocation money to get Georgi Mihailovic. At the end of the day, it worked out pretty well. Bryce Duke, familiar with him a little bit. I called the first game of the season, Montreal-Miami, for TSN. Came off the bench. He was their guy who he doesn't play as much as you'd think. Led them in assists last year. To me, I just think that they missed Georgi Mihailovic, and they mentioned in the press release, Renard mentioned that they've been trying to get him for a while. So it's a player I think that they probably targeted in the offseason or even before that as somebody who could potentially replace Mihailovic. I expect it's going to be a similar situation. Mihailovic led Chicago in assists before he got here, had fallen out of favor, was playing less. With Bryce Duke, I think he's going to come in and play quite a bit more. Lassiter, a little more familiar with him just because he's been around MLS a bit longer. Never really lived up to the hype, but I think he was probably somebody that was included in this deal because they announced Mason Toy's out again 6 to 8 weeks after undergoing knee surgery. Poor guy can't catch a break. And Romel Kyoto's out an extended period. They haven't updated. So they needed another forward, another guy who's been around MLS. I kind of like this deal. Like, you're getting assets that you know what they are. Kamal Miller's situation was, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to me. Like, he's a guy who clearly had ambition to go to Europe and started every game for Canada at the World Cup, thought he played decent, and they didn't sell him. So that's weird to me. I know there was talk that he was going to be sold as soon as this summer, and Miami would get allocation money for him, and Montreal would get a percentage of the sale. At the end of the day, I really don't think this trade is as catastrophic as everybody makes it out to be. I give Renard and Vasily the benefit of the doubt. They've made a ton of really smart investments within MLS. Their trades have gone really, really well for the most part. I know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. I give them the benefit of the doubt, and it's the profile of players that they would need at this point. Look, guys, they've scored 3 goals this season. They all came in the same game at Olympic Stadium. They've struggled. They've been outscored 9-0 in the last 2 games. They needed something. They needed a shakeup. I like the move. I know it looks like a big number on the surface, but if Bryce Duke ends up performing the way that they expect, with added playing time, padding those numbers, I think that he could eventually be sold. He's still young enough. He's only 22. So I like this move for CF Montreal. I think it's something they had to do, and I like the profile of the player that they acquired, and I think Lassiter helps them out when it comes to adding another forward who can fill in with Chino Ofor. And also, I just want to mention they did make a big trade in the offseason for Gregory Campbell from Atlanta United. They signed Gabriele Corbo again. He was with them last year on loan from Bologna. They have Robert Thorkelson, who's a guy who's barely played. So they have a lot of center backs. So you trade that and help yourself in the attacking third, I think.
I just think kind of sad. It's just because we got to know these players like a couple of years ago at the Gold Cup with Alistair Johnston and Kamal Miller made their run. And guys, last November or whatever it was, the World Cup, like you looked at the Team Canada roster and the entire country paused to watch. There's never been that many people in the world watching Canada play any sporting event in Canada versus Belgium. Mm-hmm. And there was 5 CF Montreal players on that squad, right? And there was James, and there was Sam and Ismail Coney and Alistair Johnson and Kamal Miller. And it's like, they're gone now. Sam's hurt, James is hurt, and the other 3 players have moved on. So I think, Joey, and maybe you would know more about this than I just think, to me, like a little bit unmotivated from Kamal, or maybe a little, I don't want to take a shot at the guy because I really like him. I just think that he thought he'd be playing in Europe this year with Alistair Johnson, with Ismail Coney. Yeah. And is there an element there that CF Montreal said, you know what, you probably can, but we really need you here for at least one more year. We're just too thin right across the board. We lost too many players. And maybe for Kamal's like, well, okay, but why can't Johnston stay? Or why can't somebody, why does it got to be me? Again, this is just me speculating as a fan from the outside looking in. I don't think he was terrible. I just think as a collective, they haven't played very well. Joey knows the players a lot better than I do. I don't know what they're getting, but I can see, I can figure out what says goals for and goals against, and that number is as pathetic as it can possibly be. And then the guy that has most of your goals is out. So I think it had to be done. But for me, just from a very proud Montrealer watching 5 guys on a national squad not too long ago, and Kamal was one of the last guys that was a regular because of Sam Pierre being injured. That to me sucks. It was nice. It was a little bit of a little bit of clout for the local club to have that many guys in the national team, and that's no longer the case. And I enjoyed that group last year. I think they were fun to watch. Great characters. I think whenever we had him on TSN 690, whether it was whatever show, and very outgoing, great personalities. It was last year's group. And again, we don't know enough about this year's group, but last year's group was just from even off the pitch. They were very Montreal, man. They talked a little smack. They got in your face. If you don't watch a Team Canada game, the Kamal Miller, Alistair Johnson, even though he's from TSC, Richie Larea getting into a fight with somebody. So it kind of grew on me. Guys that I wanted to see progress here in the city. So from that standpoint, for me, it's a little kind of sucks a little bit.
I think if they had an offer, I think they would have let him go. I think if they had an offer they were willing to accept, they would have let him go. I know they typically like to at least triple their investment.
Maybe that's what wasn't there.
I don't think it was there, because if it was, Yeah, if it was, I think they would have let him go regardless of how many players walked. Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, maybe he's gone this summer. I don't know. But I hear you. It's a lot of fun, familiar names that have exited here in the last few months, and it's tough, especially when you're not getting results.
It's also that I love Atiba Hutchison. If you ask our friend John Lignatis, he refers to him as the greatest Canadian soccer player ever, and it's cool to watch him. But there's a little bit of a different element here with Kamal and James and Sam and Alistair. Like guys in their early 20s, man, running around the city, and then they're running around on the national program. And you don't have that. You don't have that connection anymore. I wish Kamal the best. I enjoyed watching him play. I thought he was great when he joined us on radio, and he served the country very well when he's on that back line. So I wish him.
All right, question number 4, gentlemen, brought to you by Fresh MTL. I saw them making their avocado club wrap on Instagram the other day, and it looked amazing. Follow them on Instagram at Fresh MTL. Healthy food that just looks delicious.
Better than a drive-through. That's what.
There you go. Nice. All right. So tonight the Jays are hosting the Tigers in their second home game of the season, and in something that is very random to me, none other than Pedro Martinez threw out the first pitch in an Expos jersey, no less. To it, granted, his godson Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but I thought it was very random because it's a very niche to the Montreal market. First off, and also he has zero association with the Toronto Blue Jays. So I don't understand why he was there, but it was awesome to see him. My question is, who is your favorite Expos pitcher after seeing Pedro out there? But caveat, you have to have seen him pitch in an Expos jersey in your lifetime.
Yeah. I go back to 98, Simon, so you can have Pedro because when I started watching you, Pedro was already gone. So you can have Pedro Martinez. Yeah.
Wow. I think a little too young to identify how good Steve Rogers was and all how great of a pitcher that he was. He was one of the better pitchers one of the better pitchers in baseball, specifically one of the better pitchers in the National League. But just watching him in the late 70s and the 80s, for me, it was like I didn't understand painting the corners and off speed and whatever. It was Pedro. I'll tell you two guys that were pretty fascinating, Randy Johnson and Kirk Rudo. There's the big left-handers. So that was pretty fun to watch. But there was absolutely nothing like Pedro Martinez. He walked the walk, talked the talk, whatever. He threw high and tight. He threw at your head. He threw at your backside. He threw at guys and like he didn't care. And the one thing about, I say this about those Expo teams, when they had, even with Pedro and then later on, Larry Walker, Moise Alou, it's why they loved them so much, why we love them so much, because there was that certain bravado, that certain clout that went around being, from Montreal. Just you walk with a little bit of edge. That year with Pedro when he was winning Cy Youngs, and I think he led the Major League Baseball in bench clearing brawl. It was amazing. It was just outstanding to see. And I'm not going to say it doesn't come close, but to me, it really doesn't come close for the guys that I've got to watch and dissect. It's Pedro and everybody else.
Yeah, like I've seen Pedro in an Expos uniform on reruns. I think I told you guys 2 weeks ago on the show that I was missing baseball so bad in Montreal that it was the week before opening day, and I watched a Blue Jay, the game the night before the game you went to trying to do it in 97. It was Blue Jays and Expos, and Pedro Martinez was pitching and pitched a complete game. It was just a gem. So I've seen him on reruns, but I didn't see him pitch for the Expos with my own eyes in real time, live. So I listen, I have great appreciation for guys like Javi Vasquez and Levan Hernandez. I was really excited when they got his brother Orlando, El Duque. He never pitched for the Expos though. But the one to me, and listen, it was a terrible trade. It ended up long-term being a terrible trade. And it wasn't, in the end, who cares, because the Expos weren't around after 2004 anyway. They gave up, I think, Cliff Lee and Grady Sizemore, among other pieces, for Bartolo Colon. But when Bartolo Colon was here during that run, what year was that 32? That wasn't 03, was it? Was it 03?
Yeah, I think it was 03, yes.
Yeah, because they got him and then from Cleveland and then traded him away, I think, to the White Sox soon after.
They gave away Cliff Lee. No, they traded Cliff Lee.
Grady Sizemore.
Sizemore, and the second baseman who went on to be very good,
Brandon Phillips.
Brandon Phillips.
Yeah, Brandon Phillips, who played forever.
Yeah, Brandon Phillips played a long time. It was a terrible deal, but I just remember the hype and like watching this guy pitch. Like, not all the games were on TV, right? So I remember he was just like, he was must list. I think there was a 1-0 decision against the Mets. Like, this guy was bringing the smoke. So to me, I mean, it was Bartolo Colon. As bad as that trade ended up being, I don't really care about it because the Expos weren't around like even 2 years later. So it's really the Nationals who missed out on Sizemore, Phillips, and Cliff Lee, who actually I think won a Cy Young after that, if I'm not mistaken. He was another lefty. So yeah, man. I mean, that's where I'm going. I mean, I just remember that time. I think he became that year. He was the first pitcher in history to win 10 games in the AL, 10 games in the NL, if I'm not mistaken.
The deal didn't work out, Joey, because there was no postseason success, right? It's the same thing.
There's no postseason, yeah.
The same thing that happened, but he won 10 games. He did his part. He came over great, and he won 10 games in less than half a season. You go back to one of the biggest trades in Expos history when the Expos acquired Mark Langston for Randy Johnson. He just kind of fell apart towards the end of the season, but he went and got an ace, and Langston did win games. Unfortunately, not one really towards the end of the season when it mattered.
Yeah.
Bartolo Colon, you gave up a lot, but he went and got you 10 wins, man.
So it was 0-2. It was 0-2, and they traded him before the 0-3 season.
It was 0-2.
I mean, man, he went 10-4 with Cleveland, 10-4 with Montreal. He was a beast. He pitched 233 innings that year. Looking for the striker. Yeah, he struck out 200. He struck out 150 guys, but I mean, he was legit. Like, he was just. I remember being so excited in 0-2. I really thought they were going to make a push. They actually, made a splash and got themselves, a quote unquote rental player or a big time pitcher. So disappointed the way it turned out. The trade, Cleveland won that trade going away. It's not even close. But to me, with all due respect to Carl Pavano, Tony Armas Jr., Tomo,
Javier Vasquez, though.
I loved Javi Vasquez. Changed. It wasn't the same guy after he went to. I think he was straight to New York, or was it New York or Washington? New York, right?
He was in
the Yankees for a bit. Yeah. Wasn't the same guy in high pressure situations, I don't think. But if you're asking me for my favorite Expos pitcher that I saw live, was Bartolo Colon. But those guys, Livan Hernandez and Javi Vasquez, were around much longer. But those are mine. Trying to do it. I know you're kind of between Simon and I in terms of age, so I'm
So I got to see Pedro, to be honest.
Yeah.
And he actually signed the ball for me. When you used to buy tickets for $6 and then walk over to the dugout, and you could no one stopped you or anything. So he actually signed the ball for me. It was really nice. I really enjoyed his pitching, obviously, but that was towards I was really young, and then he obviously went away. But Hideki Irabu, I remember being super excited because he won 2 back-to-back World Series with the Yankees, the big bad Yankees, and then
did he?
Yeah, I think he did. He did. He was
for the Expos.
Yeah, he pitched. He didn't play a lot. He played like 15 games, I think.
Yeah,
injured. But he was always injured. But I remember when he got acquired, I was like, wow. I remember the Yankees is coming to pitch the World Series champion Yankees. It never panned out really. Nothing ever really.
What trade was that? Was that Javi Vasquez?
No, I don't think so. I think it was like Ted Lilly, I want to say, or something like that. Man, and 2 other guys, 3 other guys, maybe. I'm not sure.
Hold on. I'll pull it up for you. I got it. What are we looking at? We're looking at an exchange for. You're right. Yankees received Ted Lilly and Christian Parker.
Christian Parker. I just can't even tell you who that is. No. Anyways, I was super excited for that. I also like Steve Klein. He came out to my see my Pierrefonds baseball, and I always really liked him.
He was a middle reliever, right? If I remember.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he didn't do much on the field, but I always liked him. Ever since that day, he was really funny. But to me, it was Pedro, and nobody much else. I mean, Bartolo Colon obviously was great as well. That's also a great answer. And there's a million pitchers. Jeff Juden was awesome. I really liked him. Dustin Hermanson. With those sideburns or whatever, the weird, the weird beard going. That's all I remember from him. But yeah, I mean, great times all around. Great times all around.
Hey, man, I think it was 01-32. I think in a 2-month stretch, I think for like $16 combined, I saw Randy Johnson and the Diamondbacks. And then, like a few weeks later, I saw Roger Clemens in the Astros. It was like ridiculous.
Beautiful.
I miss it so bad.
Nobody's got love for Rocky Dibble, no?
Rocky Biddle.
That's a good
shout out to Urgeth Urbina, another.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, he's in jail for like murder.
Yeah, he's had a tough.
I think he was.
Jeff Reardon, maybe a little bit of love for Jeff Reardon. I remember him as the.
That's good. That was before my time, but yeah, I mean, good, fun pitchers.
I do everybody else, I think.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. All right, last question.
Urgeth Urbina is still alive. Shout out to Urgeth Urbina. I thought he passed away. I don't know. I'm not reading.
I'm pretty sure he's still in prison.
Yeah, he did bad things.
Yeah.
I thought he was. Wasn't he kidnapped once or something like that?
I think his mom was kidnapped. I think that's what eventually led him.
Oh yeah, mother's kidnapping, attempted murder conviction. So these are all subtitles on his Wikipedia page. So I'll read this as soon as we're done.
So it's going to be a sad read. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Question number 5 brought to you by Next Level Hockey. Joey, you want to tell us a little bit more about them?
Yeah, Mike runs the whole thing. He's got some great scouts there as well, some good teachers. Mike played pro in Europe. It's basically it's a hockey. I guess it's a hockey school, you can call it, but they really work on the details of your game. And kids, adults, pros. He works with professional hockey players as well. NHL guys go there in the summer. They come from all over to go to the hockey school. I know that to work out. I know that they have a summer camp coming up in July. I believe it starts July 10th. You can go to their website, which is nextlevel-hockey.com. And you can sign up directly on the website. You can contact them for any info that you want, but nextlevel-hockey.com is the website, and I strongly encourage working with Mike and his staff. They'll really point you in the right direction. So if you're looking to get better, you're looking to work on the details of your game, any position. They work with forwards, defensemen, goalies. And you want to get better, you want to improve, check out Next Level Hockey. They're on social media as well. Follow their Instagram page. They have some cool giveaways. They give out prizes and stuff like that on their Instagram. So shout out to them for jumping on board and supporting the pod. But they do really, really good work.
Yeah, definitely. And they Next Level Hockey _ is what they are on Instagram. Yeah. And they work with some NHL players. You go see who they are on that page. You have all that information there. All right. Question number 5. Should the Habs buy out Brendan Gallagher?
Is it me, Silikis? I lost track. Is it me? Yeah.
Yes, I believe you start.
I'm going to go no. And the fact that he's been playing better down the stretch here going into the final week of the season doesn't really have anything to do with my answer. I just think they're a couple of years away, and there's many years left on that deal, and I don't want to be paying Brendan Gallagher. As little as the cap it may be down the stretch, I really don't want to be paying Brendan Gallagher, 6-7 years down the line. I don't want to be paying any dead money on my salary cap. I don't anticipate, if I'm the Canadians, that I'm going to be competitive. So I'm going to pay him as much of the money to play as I can. At the same time, even though he's not the same player, I think he showed that when healthy, he's got a little bit of game left. That's encouraging. And I think he's important to that locker room. So the short answer to this question is, for right now, no, I'm not going to buy out Brendan Gallagher. If I'm not going to be competitive, I'm going to keep him around, have him work with my youngsters, help show them the way. And in the process, I'll eat up and pay out as many of those years as I can. And then if he really has no game left in a couple of years because he's just too banged up, then we can cross that bridge then, maybe move him, maybe buy him out then. But for right now, I think for the next year, a couple of years, unless somebody stuns you and offers you something in a trade for him, which I really just don't see happening, I'd keep him around. I think he's good for the culture, and there's no point of making a move that's going to have me, that's going to strap me with dead cap money. So for right now, I'm a no on buying out Brendan Gallagher.
I agree with Joey. It's just that you're not strapped for cash either, right? Like Cole Caulfield's going to get his raise. That's fine. But, Drouin, Hoffman eventually, Byron, Carl Alsner might be coming off the books. I don't know what his total's at now. And I just think it's too early in that contract to be eating that much contract for the next couple of years. You still need warm bodies, and you don't know how many of these guys are going to be able to play at the NHL level. Now, I think Raphael Harvey-Pinard is going to get a look, and he can bump him in that lineup, and then you take it. Now, is Brendan Gallagher a bottom six player? Yes, he is. Can you put him on a fourth line? It doesn't really matter. It's just about the number of minutes that you play. And again, it's just too much money to eat this early in a contract. You're not pressed for cash. Depending. Things can change very quickly. We can literally be doing this podcast in 2 months from now, and Pierre-Luc Dubois could be on this team or certain to be on this team, and you might leave with Connor Bedard or Fantilli. It can happen. So how far along are you? But even if you were to get these young players, like one of the top 2-3 picks that you put into the lineup, they're not making bank. So you don't have to concern yourself. Dubois will be making bank. Now, if Dubois comes into the lineup and you need to eat up some salary, maybe you assess it at that point. But until you're strapped for cash, I don't put myself into dead money space at all. You try to avoid it as much as possible. Now, Joey brings up the thing about the locker room. I'm not concerned about that at all because I think like guys like Mike Matheson are there, Savard is there, Edmondson, 2 guys again that might be coming off the books in the next year or so. So the finances should be fine, but they're in that locker room for at least another year. So is Matheson. Nick Suzuki is a captain. Whatever postseason success Brendan Gallagher has had, being on a team that went to a Stanley Cup final, Nick Suzuki was there in a prominent role as well. At some point, you have to think Josh Anderson's not a kid anymore. He's got to take on those responsibilities. Pierre-Luc Dubois comes over from, again, hypothetically. So I'm not worried about what Brendan Gallagher brings to the room. I think from what I understand, it's a very tight room. It's a good room. And if you were to have a little bit of that, a veteran void, I think there's guys that need to step into that veteran void, and I think they're ready to take that next step. Nick Suzuki, first year as a captain, probably a little bit more vocal next year. So I think that if you look around the league, you look around all sports, especially, whether it's a National Football League, it's about winning when you have great players not making $9, $10, $11 million. You got to make that work. So the finances do matter, and putting yourself in that position with there's 4 years left on that deal. I think there's just too much money, too much time, and too much money to swallow. And look, you can always hope that he becomes an excellent elite third or fourth line player. Maybe with a limited role on the fourth line, he gets you 12 goals. Maybe with a limited role on the third line, he gets you 14, 15 goals. That's fine. That's what guys in those positions get. He's no maintenance. You don't have to sit there and motivate him or any of those things. But I don't put myself in any financial risk until I have to.
Perfect. All right, gentlemen, that's it. That's 5 questions. Went really quickly. Thank you very much for your great answers.
Yeah.
Raptors lost.
Yeah, the Raptors. I know. I had it on. Raptors lost.
Disaster. So he's got what? So they got the winner of.
Nope, I think they're done.
Why? That was the 7th.
That was 9-10.
That was 9-10.
Yeah, they finished 1 game ahead. They finished 41-41. They finished 9, so they're done. So the Bulls get the Hawks.
The Hawks? No.
Well,
the
Hawks won.
So the Hawks beat Miami.
The Heat. Right. Sorry. Yes. The Hawks got the 7. So it's Heat and Bulls for that final playoff spot.
Sorry, Joey.
I'm good. I'll sleep tonight. I'm okay. Time to retool.
All right, we'll catch you on TSN 690 on Saturday morning 7 to 9, Sunday morning as well 7 to 9, and you can follow us everywhere at the Starters 690. Thank you, boys.
Peace.
Bye, boys.